Hi and welcome to this DCPware tutorial. In today's tutorial I'm going to show you how to create this awesome animated infographic using PowerPoint. Okay, so you can go ahead and load up PowerPoint. I've got the original slide that we're going to create now in PowerPoint. So I'm going to right click here and create a new blank slide, new slide. But when you load up PowerPoint, you should have a default blank slide as well. If you see any windows down the side, just close them down. You should have just one blank slide here, and you might see some content inside of that slide. So let's left click inside of the slide, press Ctrl A, and we select all of the elements inside the slide and hit the delete key. Okay, so let's go ahead and click on the home option here, and then in the shape tools here, let's click on the drop down and select this option here. Rectangle, top corners rounded. Let's select that and draw out a rectangle shape similar to this. It doesn't have to be exactly the same size, but roughly around this size should be good. Let's click on the shape outline tool, select the drop down and then click no outline. Let's click on this object, go to shape format here, go to the align, select align center and then select align and align middle here. Let's go to the rotate tool and set it to flip vertical. Okay, let's go back to the home here, and in the drop down for the shape tools we want to select the diamond shape here. Hold down the shift key and draw out a diamond shape similar to this size, not too big, roughly around this size. Drag it to the left over here and then press Ctrl and D to duplicate it. Drag it to the top up here and then press Ctrl and D to duplicate it one more time. Let's click on this bottom one and drag it towards the bottom here. If we zoom in, use the Control key and your mouse wheel to zoom in and out, and we want to not have the middle point on the bottom of this rectangle. We want to drag it down to somewhere around here. We just want to cut out a small piece of this main object. So let's zoom back out, position your diamond shape roughly around here, click on the main object first and then hold down the shift key and click on the diamond. It's important that you select them in that particular order. Let's go back to shape format and in the merge shapes, click here and then do subtract. So you can see the triangle element has been cut out. Let's select this object and drag it to the side here, and we'll select the other one and drag it to the opposite side, and they should snap as you're moving it around the object. It should snap equally on both sides. Click and select the main object first, hold down the shift key, select the left diamond and then select the right diamond, go to the shape formatting, go to shapes, merge shapes here and select subtract as well. So we're building up the shape by cutting it out using this diamond shape. Okay, so let's go back to the home, let's go back to the shape tool, let's click on the drop down, and this time we're going to select this option, flowchart preparation. Let's click that object and we're going to draw out a shape similar to this. We want to make sure that the object is not as wide as the main object below. So you can see roughly what the size is here, something similar to this. Let's click that object and let's go to the shape format, go to align and align center, just to make sure it's exactly in the center of this object. Let's click the main object first, hold down the shift key and click this top object. Let's go back to shape format, merge shapes and then do subtract. Now we've got the cutout at the top. Okay, so let's go back and click on the home. Let's click on the shape tool drop down as well, and then we'll go and select this option here again, the flowchart preparation. Let's click on that object, hold down the shift key and drag it out so that it matches the width of the original object. If you hold down the shift key, it will snap and match the width. Let's make sure that it's centered. Go to shape format and go to align and align center. This will make sure it's centered out. Let's just drag it up to the top here, and in fact we'll go back to align and center. So this is perfectly centered. Let's select this object, let's go back to home, and in the shape outline let's select here and say no outline, and then in the shape color let's click the drop down and select this blue color here. Let's click on this object, right click and then send to back here, so it will sit behind. Let's click on the main object and then we're going to right click and go to format shape. When the options open, select the effects option here. In the preset, select the offset center. Set the transparency to roughly around 74. let's say around 74. All the other options can stay pretty much the same. Let's click back on this object. We can close down the side panel, select the main object, and then in the shape fill we want to set it to a white color like this. Let's go to file and save our work. Okay, so make sure you go back to the home here, click on the shape tools again, and this time we want to select the rectangle tool. Let's click on that, hold down the shift key and draw out a small box like this. Doesn't need to be any larger than this size here. Let's click on that box, go to the shape outline and select no outline. In the shape fill we want to select the same blue color as the top section we selected. Let's click that and drag this object closer to this object here, and then press Ctrl and D to duplicate it, and we want to duplicate it 3 times. So we've got 3 little boxes here. Let's take this first one and drag it down to the bottom, and then we'll right click on it and we'll go to send backwards. Make sure that the object is not sitting right flush on this line, so you can click on it. Let's go to the shape format, align and center. That makes sure it's centered, and then to move it up a little bit use the arrow keys on your keyboard, and we want to leave it so that it doesn't quite touch the bottom here. We want that sort of effect. Let's zoom back out, click on this object and drag it to the edge here, sitting right in the middle, and drag the other one to the opposite, and it should lock in like this. They should align correctly. Select both of them, right click on them and then send to back, so now they'll sit behind. Let's zoom in. Let's click on one of the objects, then zoom in. Select this object and hit the left arrow key 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 times. So we're going to leave a gap here and do the same on this side. So they're both 8 sections or 8 increments pushed inwards. So now you'll get this sort of effect here. Okay, let's go ahead and click on the main object that sits in the center. Press Shift and D to duplicate it. Go to the shape format, align, center, align, middle, and this will overlay straight on top. We want to shrink it down a little bit in size, and we want to stretch it out on the width a little bit. So it's a bit wider than the original object. Now let's try and get this recentered. So the way to do that is just go to align, center, align, middle, and then we'll click on that object, right click on it, and we want to send it to the back so it will sit behind the main object. Okay, let's go over to the insert option here, and then we'll select text box, and let's draw out a text box that sits on top of the main object like this. Inside of here I'm just going to type in main title. I'm going to select this by pressing Ctrl A, and I'm going to center align it, and inside the drop down I'm going to select a font. You can pick any font that you like, so find a font that you like. I'm going to type in Lato. I'm going to scroll down and select Lato Heavy, this font style here, and I'm going to reduce the size of it to 16 so it fits nicely, and I think that looks pretty good. So let's click on this object and make sure it's centered out correctly. We'll select it, go to shape format, align and center. So now it's perfectly in the center of the object. That's what we want. Let's click on this object, select it, press Shift and D to duplicate it, and drag it so that it sits below, a copy, just below, something like here. This time we're going to write some other content. This is all placeholder information, so you can type in anything you like. I'm going to select this information here that I've copied and pasted, so I'll press Ctrl A to select it. Let's go back to the home, and instead of heavy, Lato Heavy, I'm going to get rid of the word heavy and just have Lato. So it's just the default font. I'm going to make the size a little bit smaller, something like this, and then you can write much more text underneath if you choose to do so. So let's left click outside, and here we've got our text and our subtext. Let's click on this text here, select it all, go to the color options and make it blue so that it matches the title above, or the blue section above here. Okay, let's click on this main title here, select it by clicking on the outside edge, press Shift and D to duplicate it, and let's drag this copy up to the top section here. Let's click inside and press Ctrl A, and then we'll change the font color to white, and we're going to change this text in here, and we're going to just type in option. You can type any text that you like. I'm going to left click outside, let's click here and select this, and then use the arrow key to position it above, somewhere around here to the top. Let's press Ctrl D to duplicate that, and then we'll minimize the size of the box. let's drag it down to here. We'll click inside and we'll type in the letter A. You can type in anything you like. It could be option 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm going to use the alphabet and use some text in here. I might try to make this slightly bigger. I think that will sit quite nicely, and I'm going to bring it down a little bit. This is all down to your own preferences, and I think this text here, we can reduce the size of the box. In fact, let's hold down the shift key and select both of those text objects. Go to shape format, align and center. So we know that they're nicely centered. Let's select this letter A and let's make that a little bit bigger. I think around this size, 18, should be pretty good. Okay, so let's go to the insert option here and let's go to this icons here. We'll click here, and then as default, PowerPoint has all these different icon options. So you can pick any icon that you like that suits the type of option that you're creating. But I want to use this particular icon here, this one. So I'm going to select that. It's under process. This particular one, I'll select it and click insert. I'm going to drag that down to the bottom section here, roughly around here. I'll go to the graphic format here, click align and align center. Then I'm going to go back to the home, and in the shape fill I'm going to set it to the same blue color. Okay, so let's go ahead and select this text here. Right now it's this black font. I think it needs to change color. So let's select it, click on the home, go to the font colors here, and let's set it to a dark sort of grey. This sort of option down here. I think this will look a little bit better. Okay, we've created the first section of our infographic. Let's go ahead and press Ctrl A. That will select all of the objects. Press Ctrl G and that will group them as one object. The elements inside are still selectable individually, but this allows us to move the object easily into position. So we want to position it in the bottom left section of the canvas around here. We're going to press Ctrl D to duplicate, and we're going to drag one to the side, and we're going to leave quite a big gap in between them, something like this. And as you're moving it, you'll see the red lines appear just to tell you roughly what the sort of position is looking like, and this seems to be perfect right here. Once you place that second object, don't click on anywhere, just make sure it's still selected as it is, and then press Ctrl D and Ctrl D, and it will space them out equally. Let's select all of the objects using our mouse, and then press Ctrl G to group all of those 4 objects. We're doing that so that we can go to shape format, align and center, now that we know that they're evenly positioned on the canvas like this. Now let's click on the first object, or let's click on these objects, press Ctrl Shift and G to ungroup them. Click on the first one, press Ctrl Shift and G to ungroup this, and repeat that for all 3 of them. Select it, Ctrl Shift and G, select this, Ctrl Shift and G, select this, Ctrl Shift and G. So all of the objects are now separated, so we can change the colors. Let's click on this section at the top here of this little box, or this little shape that we created at the top. Let's go to home, let's go to color fill, the shape fill here, and we're going to select green, and we'll click on the title, press Ctrl A to select it, and we'll also select the same green color. Let's left click on this box, this little triangle shape here, hold down the shift key, select the bottom one or the right one, and then select the bottom one here, and then go to the shape fill and select the same green color, and then click on the little icon here and select the same green color. Okay, let's click inside here and change this to option B, and then we'll click on this box here on the outside. Sometimes it can be a little bit tricky to select, so maybe if we click down here or around here, we can select it quite easily here. Let's click on the drop down and select the next color will be red, and you can choose any colors you like. We'll click on the main title, press Ctrl A, click down here and select red. We'll click on this icon and we'll go to shape fill and click red here. Let's left click here, hold down the shift key, select all of these little triangles, and then click the shape fill red as well. Now we've got one more left to do. Let's click around here, let's do the shape fill, set it to purple, and in fact we should set this to letter C, and in this one we'll set it to letter D. Let's click on the title, press Ctrl A to select it, click here and make that purple. Let's left click here, hold down the shift key and select all of these objects, go to the shape fill, make it purple, click on the icon and make that purple also. Now each one of these elements has its own color scheme. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is add a title. So let's click insert and let's go to the text box option, and we're going to draw quite a large text box across the top here, and we want to type something in. In my case, I'm just going to type in PowerPoint Infographic, and I'm going to press Control A to select that text. Let's center it. Let's go to the drop down options, and I'm going to select light or heavy. Try and use similar fonts for all of your design. It's going to make it look a lot better, right, when the fonts are unison. And I'll click on this option here to increase the font size. I want to make it roughly this size, quite large, so that when you're putting it on a PowerPoint presentation, on a large projector, it's quite easy to read, right? This sort of size seems to be good. Let's left click outside, and then we want to go to the drop down option, and we want to select that same option here, flowchart preparation. This time we're going to draw out a little small sort of shape, something roughly around this size. Let's go to the shape outline and select no fill. Let's click on that object, click on the drop down and make it a blue color. Let's select it, press Ctrl and D to duplicate and drag it to the side so that it sits correctly snapped to the side right here like this. Then press Shift and press Ctrl and D, and then press Ctrl and D again. Let's select this one, and you can see this is a green color, so let's go ahead and make that one green. This one will be red, and then the last one will be a purple color. Okay, use the mouse to select all four of those objects, press Ctrl G to group them, then go to Shape Format, Align and Center. So now it sits nicely centered. Let's in fact click on this text box at the top here. Let's go to the alignment tool as well. So Shape Format, Alignment tool, Align Center, and now that's centered out nicely as well. Okay, so we've prepared most of the elements that we need. So what we want to do now is start the animation work. So let's go ahead and click on this main object. The first thing that we created was this main body, the main part of the object. Let's select it. Let's go to the animation tools here, animation, and let's make sure we turn on the animation pane here. What I'll do is just reduce the size of these little thumbnail slides down the side so we can see the animation pane a bit clearer. Let's make sure we select that first object. Let's go to the add animation, and we want to do float in. So let's select float in like this, and we don't want it to be on an on click, we want it to be after previous, and the duration we want to set it to 0.25 like this. The next thing we'll do is work on this little box at the top, this little tab section. So we'll select that, go to the animation, go to float in, and we'll select after previous, and we'll set that to 0.25. So if we click on the first one and click play, we can see how they're going to flow in like this. The next thing we want to do is animate these little blue triangles, right? So let's go ahead and select them. Let's select all three of them like this, and then we'll go to animation, and we want to zoom like this. And with these ones, we're going to select after previous, and we're going to set them to 2.5, 0.225. Let's go back to the first one here, click it, and let's click play and see how it works. And that works perfectly fine. That's good. Next thing we want to do is animate our title here. So let's go ahead and click that. Let's go to the animation, and we'll select, in fact, let's do both of them. So let's go ahead, let's left click outside. Let's select the main title and the text below. So go ahead and click on the main title, hold down the shift key and select the text right underneath it, and then go to the animations here, and then do zoom, and then make sure you select after previous and set it to 0.25. All of them will be 0.25. Select option and then select the letter A, go to the add animation, click zoom, select after previous and set it to 0.25 as well. And now we've got the circle to do. So let's click on the circle, let's go to animation, and we want to zoom it in like this, and we're going to set that to 0.25 and after previous. We're going to keep this circle selected, so let's select it one more time. We're going to go back to animation, click on spin, and this time we're going to set the value to here to 0.25. Click on the drop down after previous. Next we'll click on the background, this background layer, and that will be the last part we animate here. Let's click animation, let's click zoom, set that to 0.25 and then click after previous. So if we go back to the first option and click play, now we can see how that particular element will animate out. It's slightly different to the original version, but this is for you to now go and experiment. You can animate these options or these elements in any single sequence that you want. So it's a little bit tricky to remember the exact sequence that you've just performed, but you can see them here and you can click on them to work out what you've just done, right? So let's go ahead and click on this last one. Let's click this one here. We know the main was the first thing we did. So let's click animation, let's click float in, and we set it to 0.25 after previous. After that, we did the flowchart preparation, which is the top section. So let's click on this top section here. We'll go to add animation, float in. Let's set it to after previous 0.25, and then we did the rectangle. So let's see, the rectangles will be these little triangles. So let's click on this triangle here, hold down the shift key, select all three of them, and then we'll go to the animation and we want to do zoom, and we'll set that to 0.25 and set it to after previous. After the rectangles, we did the text box, the main title, and then the subtext. So let's click the main title, hold down the shift key and select both of them, go to animation, zoom, set it to after previous and set it to 0.25, and then click on option option, and then select option B together, holding down the shift key to select both of them, go to animation, go to zoom, select after previous and set that to 0.25, and then it was the circle. So let's click this and let's go to the zoom option, set it to 0.25, set after previous, and then click back on it, go back to animation, set it to spin, set that to 0.25, and then click after previous. The last object is the background here. Let's select it, go to zoom, set it to 0.25, and then select after previous. Now we have them exactly sequenced the same. So let's try and remember those steps. Let's click on the main object here, go to add animation, float in 0.25 after previous. Then we did the red, this box at the top, which is the red one here, float in 0.25 after previous. Then we did the, let's see, we did the rectangles next, right? So let's select the rectangle here, here, and here, holding down the shift key, and we'll do the zoom effect on that, 0.25 after previous. And here you can see the text boxes. So let's select text box, hold down the shift key, select both of them. We're going to do zoom after previous 0.25, and then we do the top one option and then hold down the shift key to select the letter C. Let's go to here, let's do zoom after previous 0.25, and then the circle or this icon, let's select it. Let's go to add animation, zoom here, 0.25 after previous, select it again, go back to the add animation options, select spin and set that to 0.25, and then click after previous. Click on the background, go to animation, select zoom, 0.25 after previous. Let's click on this main section here, the main one for the purple one. Let's go to animation, we'll select float in 0.25 after previous. Then we'll click on the little purple tab here, go to animation, float in 0.25 after previous. Then we had, let's see, let's double check. Then we have the rectangle, so let's click this one here, and this one here. Animation, zoom after previous 0.25 here, 0.25. Then we have the title and the subtext, animation, zoom after previous 0.25, and then option and then the letter D, hold down the shift key to select them, go to add animation, select zoom after previous here 0.25, and then we want to animate the circle, right? So let's see, text boxes and then graphic here, which should be the circle. So let's select the circle or the icon here. Let's go to zoom, set it to 0.25 after previous, click on it one more time, go to add animation, spin 0.25, and then click after previous. Let's select the background, finally click add animation, zoom here, set it to 0.25 and after previous. Let's press Ctrl S to save our work, and the last thing we want to do is just put a little sort of background. Now you can leave it exactly as it is, you don't have to do this option here, but I'm going to hold down the Control key and zoom right out. I'm going to go to home, I'm going to click on this drop down and I'm going to select the rectangle tool here. I'm going to hold down the left mouse button and drag out a large rectangle, something around this size. I'm going to click there, right click, and I'm going to send it to the back so it sits behind, and then I want to rotate it at an angle. So I'm going to rotate it and then position it here. Let's rotate it a bit more in this direction, and I want it to kind of sit around here somewhere, like around here, something like this. Don't want it to cover over the text here, just to make the slide a little bit different. Let's click on it and I'll go to the shape fill and set it to black. So this option, this background is optional, right? So let's actually go and check out our work now. Let's zoom back in. Let's press Ctrl S. Okay, so to view the animation, all we need to do is go ahead and press F5, and we can see the animation sequence here. Okay, so I think it looked pretty good. So one thing that we can do is I'm going to go to File, Save As, and I'm going to save this as version 2 because this is going to be a second version. So let's click Save, and on this second slide, this is the original one that I made and this is the new one that we have. So they're slightly different, but most of it's pretty much the same. I'm going to click on this second slide and delete it. So we've got the original slide that we just made today. I'm going to press Ctrl S, I'm going to go to File, and I'm going to go to Save As. Inside the Save As options in the drop down, I want to select PDF. So I'm going to select PDF and click Save. So now we have a PDF version. I'm going to go to File and also Export. And inside the Export, I'm going to select Create a Video. And inside the video, it's going to be full 1080p. And seconds spent on each slide. 5 seconds is fine. Let's click Create Video. And it will save it in the same location. Let's click Save. It's going to make a video of that. So let's minimize this and open up this folder. In this folder on my desktop, now I have a few different options to send to my clients, or if you want to create a presentation, you can send someone a PDF file. So now you've got a nice PDF file of this PowerPoint presentation or this infographic. So if you want to share that with anyone, you can share it as a nice PDF file. You can also go back to a PowerPoint and go to File, Export, and let's see, change file type. In fact, we can go to Save As, and in the Save As options, we should be able to set it to JPEG format here. So let's save it as a JPEG file. So we've got this slide saved as a JPEG file as well. Let's minimize that, and we should see JPEG here. So if you want to share this on some of your social media like Facebook or Twitter or somewhere like that, you can share it now on social media. And finally, if we open this up, we've now got an MP4 version, a video version that we can share on our YouTube channels. We can do some voiceovers on this, and maybe you're trying to illustrate some information. So it's quite an interesting way to share content if you can get it in a video as well. So we created one PowerPoint presentation and we managed to get an MP4 file. We've got a PDF, a JPEG, and we have still the original PowerPoint that we can run in a PowerPoint presentation if we choose to do a presentation. Okay, so that's quite a lot to cover today. That's kind of a first starter tutorial that I'm creating for this PowerPoint presentation channel. So if you want to subscribe to my channel, I'm going to be making many more different PowerPoint slides. I'm going to show you different techniques and different styles of PowerPoint slides and how to create them using these techniques and these simple methods to create all of these different shapes. Remember, all of this content was created directly in PowerPoint, so rather than using external files and graphics, our end result is the PowerPoint presentation is only 87 kilobytes in total file size. It's a very, very small file because everything is done directly in PowerPoint as vector-based artwork within PowerPoint. So let's close this down. Hopefully I'll find you subscribing to my YouTube channel. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up, and I look forward to seeing you on the next DCP Web PowerPoint presentation tutorial.